The truth about the warrior race of the Saiyans, what lies behind it, in its true essence described in a somewhat mysterious way. We start right at the beginning where we see Yamoshi, his struggle, his legacy, what has changed in all these years in which the Saiyan warriors have existed, where Oozuru fits into all of this, and why only one of the twin planets has tails and the other does not. What really happened to the Saiyans of Universe 7, divine powers, and much more. All of this in a new movie about the Saiyans. Want to know what's going to happen here? Come with me. Go ahead and leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell. What do we really know about the Saiyans? Aside from the warrior race, the urban legends, and all that, what will this movie actually add to the grand universe of Dragon Ball itself? After the success and introduction of characters like Whis and Beerus in the movies, and the near-triumphant return of Frieza, where an angel had to intervene, otherwise the Z Warriors would have been finished right there. Movies like Broly's and Gohan's, where one joins the Z Warriors and the other faces the return of Cell in his max form, teaming up with Piccolo in a great battle to defeat him. There we met Orange Piccolo and also Gohan Beast, films that had great moments and even found a place in the manga, an adaptation of their scripts so that they could reach us in ways beyond just a film. Some even fit into the current storyline with great impact. But what would bring impact in this particular film? It might bring more than meets the eye, and I can prove it masterfully, especially after the addition of more universes, including a twin of Universe 7, which is Universe 6, which even has sibling gods of destruction. We also have Earth over there, which we've never seen, and the Saiyan planet, which in this case is the first one. That alone already raises many questions. They can become Super Saiyans, but they don't need tails. They didn't rely on the Oozuru. So when did that happen? And to introduce a new saga parallel to Universe 6, where Vegeta visits planet Sadala to meet its king. This film could bring an even deeper introduction, with connections and roots from before Oozuru, after Oozuru, and the great battle of Yamoshi. And as a bonus, we might learn something about Broly and why he is such a monster. It would be incredible, wouldn't it, guys? Comment down below what you think about that. It would be something unique and different in the Dragon Ball landscape. A new approach that would make total sense, especially considering we recently had Dragon Ball Daima. Some connections in the Makai world, like Piccolo, Neva, and the origin of the Kaioshins. It's not something that changes Dragon Ball's system itself, but it adds a lot to the lore, doesn't it? Anyway, I'm going to bring some interesting things that might be in this film, and that would make more sense in the current setting of Dragon Ball Super. A movie about the Saiyans, before the destruction of Planet Vegeta, would represent one of the richest narrative opportunities in the entire Dragon Ball universe. For years, fans have followed the battles of Goku, Vegeta, Broly, and so many other warriors. But the origin of this warrior race, its ancient leaders, its moments of glory and downfall still remain shrouded in mystery. A full-length movie exploring the origins of the Saiyans could start off epically, not with the already known King Vegeta or with Bardock, but much earlier, in the times when the name Yamoshi echoed among legends. The movie could open with a barren, violent landscape, the old Saiyan planet before the domination of the Tsufurijins, when the warrior race was still fragmented and in constant internal conflict. In this brutal setting emerges Yamoshi, a warrior of pure spirit who saw strength not as a form of oppression, but as a way to protect the weak. He would be introduced amidst a tribal war, saving a group of Saiyans subjugated by other clans. His strength would be absurd, but the most impressive part would be his distinct energy, a key that vibrated in tune with something greater, something the other warriors couldn't understand. This would be the omen of what would one day be called a Super Saiyan. We know this legend through Frieza. Frieza knew of the Super Saiyan legend through ancient records and stories circulating among the peoples of the universe, especially within his own family's Cold Dynasty. The legend said that once every 1,000 years, a Saiyan warrior of pure heart and unparalleled power would arise, whose strength would surpass any known being. This warrior would be the Super Saiyan, a being of golden aura and intense eyes, capable of challenging even the emperors of evil. King Cold, Frieza's father, already knew the story, and when he passed control to his son, he warned him of the potential danger the Saiyans represented. Cold had probably witnessed or heard about some unusual power surge among Saiyan warriors, perhaps even glimpses of Yamoshi's spirit in action, and concluded that if it were real, it would be an unacceptable risk. Frieza, arrogant but clever, took the threat seriously, especially after seeing with his own eyes the potential of Bardock, young Vegeta, and reports of Broly's latent power. even as a baby. The legend of the Super Saiyan was the spark for Frieza's fear. Contrary to what many believe, he didn't destroy planet Vegeta just as a strategic precaution. He acted out of real fear that the prophecy would come true and that a legendary warrior would emerge to overthrow him. This fear became even more evident when, on Namek, upon seeing Goku transform for the first time, Frieza panicked, recognizing that this was the prophesied being, the embodiment of his greatest fear. The movie could perhaps start right there. Goku transforming for the first time on planet Namek, Frieza remembering his father, and poof, cut to the Yamoshi era. It would be iconic to relive that scene as the prologue to a great movie. In the first few minutes of the film, we'd see Yamoshi trying to unify the Saiyans. Some would ally with him, others would revolt. There would be betrayals, memorable fights, and a growing sense that this race was about to discover a new destiny. The climax of this first part would show Yamoshi facing alone a coalition of Saiyan clans who saw his ideology as a threat. In the final battle, he would awaken the legendary power, transforming into the first Super Saiyan in history. However, even with this power, he would be defeated by overwhelming numbers, and his legend would begin to circulate as a forbidden myth, suppressed by future generations. After that, the film would move forward in time, now showing the rise of the Saiyans as conquerors after overthrowing the Tsufurugians and taking over Planet Plant, renamed Planet Vegeta in honor of the royal bloodline emerging. It's at this moment that we're introduced to the young King Vegeta, who inherits not only his name, but a pride and sense of leadership that seemed to come from ancient times. In intimate and brutal scenes, we would see how the king views his people, not as pawns, but as an army destined for universal supremacy. Vegeta would have strange dreams, visions of an ancient warrior engulfed in golden flames, suggesting that Yamoshi still resonates in the royal genes. In parallel, we would see Bardock on missions in the far reaches of the galaxy. Unlike the colder figure shown in older adaptations, the Bardock from Dragon Ball Super is more introspective, more human. He feels a growing discomfort upon realizing that the Saiyans are becoming nothing more than tools of destruction for Frieza. His conversations with Jain, his partner, show a protective side, but also a critical mind that begins to question the race's submission to the Cold Empire and later to Frieza. Bardock wouldn't be an explicit revolutionary, but a spark of change. He would begin investigating ancient legends, including that of Yamoshi, and would realize that something is about to repeat in history. Remember that Bardock appeared in Dragon Ball Super, and there we got a glimpse of his battles. Bardock's appearance in Dragon Ball Super happens mainly through flashbacks, in the Granola, the Survivor arc in the manga, and later in the Dragon Ball Super Broly special. In this new approach, Bardock is portrayed in a deeper and more empathetic way than in previous versions. In the Granola arc, we discover that 40 years ago, Bardock took part in a mission on Planet Cereal, leading a Saiyan strike team under Frieza's army. Their objective was to eliminate the planet's inhabitants so the Heater race could later resell it. However, something unusual happens. Bardock encounters a Cerealian mother named Muesli and her son, Granola, moved by an uncommon feeling of compassion, perhaps a spark of humanity or a premonition of what was to come. Bardock decides to spare them both. He fights against the Heaters to protect them, even going so far as to face Gas, one of the most powerful members of that group. This action marks a huge difference from the cold and obedient nature expected of a Saiyan warrior. Bardock hides Muesli and Granola, and when he realizes the Heaters still intend to kill them, he bravely confronts Gas, even knowing he stands no real chance. During the fight, Bardock reaches a state close to Ultra Instinct, not fully, but guided by an instinct of survival and protection beyond the norm. He manages to endure and eventually defeats Gas with immense effort. This episode is crucial because it shows that Bardock had already begun to break away from the brutality of the Saiyans. He demonstrates individuality, compassion, and even a certain philosophy. He believes that children shouldn't be forced to repeat the sins of their parents. This ties directly to the decision he later makes on Planet Vegeta to send Goku to Earth not to destroy it, but to survive. These events reconstruct Bardock as the first Saiyan to plant the seed of change, the precursor to the rebellion we would later see in Goku. His appearance in Dragon Ball Super isn't long, but it's powerful and full of emotional meaning, revealing that, deep down, Goku's father was the initial point of salvation for the Saiyans, even if his own people didn't realize it in time. And this is where Broly comes in. Still a child, isolated with his father Paragus. Broly would already display an unexplainable power. It wouldn't be just brute strength. His energy would be wild, yet pulsing with something ancient. In a deep flashback, Paragus would find remnants of ancient temples on planet Vegeta, ruined places with inscriptions that refer to the first Super Saiyan. The connection to Yamoshi would be implied. Broly hadn't just inherited raw power, but perhaps carried the echo of Yamoshi's will, a spirit that was never extinguished, only dormant in specific generations. The movie would also deepen the figure of Frieza's father, King Cold. His arrival on planet Vegeta would be a definitive turning point. Upon realizing the potential of the Saiyans, he transforms them into galactic mercenaries. King Vegeta bows, but never truly surrenders. On his throne, he swears that one day the Saiyans will serve no one. Tension with Frieza begins to rise, and in political conversations between Cold and Frieza, it becomes clear that the Saiyans are seen as a threat. Cold senses that the legend of the Super Saiyan is not mere folklore. Vegeta, still young, appears briefly, but his scenes carry a lot of symbolism. From an early age, he shows excessive pride, but also a command instinct, a desire to prove that the Saiyans are superior. There's a moment when King Vegeta looks at his son and comments to Bardock that he's never seen such a determined gaze since the records of the ancestral bloodline. The idea that Vegeta carries within him a legacy far deeper than he himself understands would become a recurring subtext. As the story progresses, Frieza begins to fear more and more the emergence of the Super Saiyan. Informants report the increase in power among young warriors, including Vegeta and Broly. Bardock senses that tragedy is about to happen. In a desperate attempt, he confronts the Royal Council, asking the king to evacuate part of the people. The king ignores him, bound by his pride. Jain tries to convince Bardock to flee with her and Kakarot, but he decides to stay and fight, even knowing it's impossible to win. In the final minutes of the movie, Bardock prepares to face Frieza's ship alone. We see Jain crying as she places Kakarot in the capsule, with a melancholic soundtrack. King Vegeta stares at the sky from the palace, realizing that his arrogance blinded him. Frieza, with a cold smile, launches the energy sphere that wipes out the planet. In a second, the Saiyans' pride turns to dust. But before the credits, the screen goes dark, and we hear Yamoshi's voice echoing, saying, "When darkness consumed the strong, the flame of young warriors who will change this era is reborn in another world." Cuts to Goku's capsule landing on Earth, Vegeta alongside Nappa and Raditz receiving the news, and also to Broly, the ones who today are the Saiyans that inherited this in one way or another. It would be epic. This movie, besides filling historical gaps, would touch on deep themes about identity, legacy, ambition, and redemption. It would draw parallels between Yamoshi, Bardock, Broly, King Vegeta, and young Prince Vegeta, showing that, though separated by eras, they all carry fragments of an ancestral spirit that never faded. A work that would unite the epic with the emotional and leave a lasting legacy in the mythology of Dragon Ball.